Welcome, listeners and viewers, to Compliance in Motion, the podcast where we dive deep into the stories, strategies, and systems that power real workplace safety. And today, I'm super excited to bring on a guest by the name of Mark Egley. He is the safety coordinator at Niles Expanded Metals. I'm your host, Tony DeAscentis, CEO and co-founder of Ving. So let's get into it a little bit here. Mark Egley, safety coordinator, Niles Expanded Metals. You have a tough job, man. You had a challenge of keeping workers safe and compliant in a very demanding and manufacturing environment. Tell us a little bit about your background. How did you end up as a safety coordinator in the Niles Expanded Metals work environment?
Well, Tony, I've been here for 36 years. I actually started at Niles Expanded Metals as a general laborer, sweeping the floors, and
Yeah.
I had graduated to running the machine, learning how to operate the various expanded metal machines. Which, by the way, in that process, I have had a few cuts and had a couple of injuries due to the nature of what we do. Um,
Mhm.
and as I progressed through there, I joined their maintenance force, and I went to school and learned to become a maintenance electrician. And I worked in maintenance for a good 12 years. And the maintenance foreman there, he had quit. He retired, not really quit, but he retired. And so I got that job as a maintenance foreman. And as you become a foreman, you become more aware of the people and the responsibilities that are around,
Mhm.
and as the maintenance foreman, I did a lot of things with the machines to try and help safeguard them a little better. We were actually, um, it had a fella on one of the machines that removed the guard on one of the machines. It's a leveling machine, and it has pinch rolls, and it has a series of rolls that the metal travels through, and it flattens the metal. Well, he had removed the guard because it was hard to get the metal under the guard, and he ended up with a degloving incident.
Mhm.
And it is a really something when you see the look on someone's face when they're
Yeah.
looking at their hand and their fingers are gone,
Yeah.
and I have to tell you that really impacted me. And I mean, just I mean, the look on his face, it'll never leave me. And then everything
Yeah.
that happened afterwards, and from that point on, I mean, I realized the importance of it, even more so than my own cuts on my arm and all that stuff that I might have gotten. And I I I had expressed an interest in trying to do the safety management job, and I would do that and the maintenance foreman job together at one point, and then they had brought an engineer in to do the maintenance foreman job, and I became the full time safety manager and safety coordinator and continual improvement,
Right.
which
Yes.
kind of go hand in hand, really.
Definitely they do. Yeah. And I'm always interested in hearing about people's journey to, what led them and what was the defining moment where they decided that they wanted to steer their career into that safety and compliance, quality assurance role. And a lot of people will talk about, hey, I started in this industry 10, 20, 30 years ago, and they have these very practical experiences and, they've kind of done job rotations and eventually end up at the safety manager. You pointed out something today that nobody has pointed out in a while as a podcast guest is that they saw an injury firsthand and were there when it happened and talk about an experience that would kind of catapult you into thinking maybe I could do something to prevent this from happening again. And that career is called safety manager. Um, you seem to have both experiences under your belt throughout your career, and that's for sure. Now, talk to us a little bit about how the two go hand in hand. safety and quality.
Well, I mean, safety. I mean, I've come to realize is it goes hand in hand with all of it, with
Yeah.
production, with quality, with maintenance, and the reason being is you first of all, you want people to do their best. You want to make the product as good as you can, but you don't want to sacrifice anything doing that. You want to do it the best that you can, and that is making sure that the operators and the people who do the work on the ground can do the job the best that they can, as safely as they can, knowing that they know in their minds that you have their back, that you're
Mhm.
doing things. You've got the machines. It's not like well, like the incident that we had. You're not going to tell somebody take that guard off and we can do it faster. What
Yeah.
you're going to say to them is, how can we manage this to where you can do your job as well as you can and you feel safe doing it,
Yeah.
and getting input from the operators and getting input from the foreman and even the general laborers is key in developing the safety strategy for the machines that they run. And the machines are all expanders, but they all run kind of differently, you know. So
Yeah.
you take in, you listen to what the operators have to say, and you try and bring that in to what you're trying to do, which is make it safer for them.
Yeah.
And when they
I think.
see that, they appreciate that, and
Yeah.
there's a bond there that they actually believe that you have their best interests at heart.
Yeah, that's because you do, and you're sincere about it, and that's a key takeaway for a lot of people listening out there today is as a safety manager, as a production manager, if you truly are sincere about your concerns for the employees and their environment and things like, they're going to pick up on that versus just to check the box, let's do this to be compliant. One of the things that I really liked what you said, Mark, was do the job the best you can given the constraints that you have to align with. You can't remove machine guards. You can't take shortcuts. So do the job the best you can and at the safest that you can get it done without injury. Now, if the best you can is falling short of expectation of the company, it's not time to take a shortcut. It's time to take a look at the process, right?
Absolutely, absolutely.
And see what you can do to modify it to bring it up and shore it up to the best of your can as expectation of the company. So, talk to us a little bit about the day to day as you're going through your areas of accountability and responsibility in metal manufacturing in a fabrication environment. What does your day to day look like as a safety coordinator?
The very first thing you do, I mean, I come in and I take a walk around, you know, just to look and see. You know, we have training and we do training, you know, constantly, and we have the training matrix and all that. But still, there's people still fall short because people are people, and you don't know what's on their minds. You don't know what's going through their heads. Maybe they got something going on somewhere else, and they're not thinking about what it is that they're doing about their job. So,
Mhm.
like, I'll walk around, and if I see somebody doing something that is unsafe, I'll go over to them and I'll talk to them about them. It's like, hey, you guys know this. You know, we've been over this time and time again. However, you know, it's not that I threaten to write you up right away. Tell you to you know, keep an eye on things and keep mindful about what you're doing. You're under a machine. It's a 250-ton, you know, machine that you're under, and while you have the motor shut off, I can see that you're not locked out. Okay, you got to lock the machine out. And I go through the whole place, even if someone's shoes untied, or if there's something on the floor like a piece of wood. You know, I want to pick those things out, and that's the beginning of every day. And
Right.
I try and set the tone for the day about what people are doing and about their mindfulness. I want them to start their day looking around and making
Right.
sure that everything in their work area is good for them. If it's
Yeah.
good for me, it's good for you.
Right. Absolutely. And I mean, that makes so much sense. That is a walk around function that you do literally is you're out there looking, observing, and when you see something, It sounds like you have very much an open communication about approaching somebody and talking about what you're seeing, why it's not right, and how to adjust the situation to get it up to expectation for safety and for your standard operating procedure. Is that about right?
Yeah, yeah, yes, it is. And I don't want to be a jerk. What I want to be is somebody who is concerned about what may happen. I'm
Right.
somebody who doesn't want something to happen,
Right.
and I don't want you to have it happen to you, or I don't want you to have it happen. You know what
Right.
I mean?
Yeah,
Uh, so,
absolutely. Right.
so
So when you're
I'll
go ahead.
go ahead.
Yeah. Oh, I was
I,
just going to say, so obviously all types of workers in your organization, some are new hires, some are more seasoned professionals or subject matter experts. How do you find, the challenges? Is it harder to, or maybe not harder is not the right word. What are the observations you would have in working with like a new person on the job and the safety requirements for the job versus a seasoned professional? Or do you find that there's just a common thread between both of them of reoccurring um, things that you need to be paying attention to and communicating about?
well, I'll tell you. And we have had some new hires lately, so that's a really good question. And what we try and do is put the new hires with the guys that we know, or that have a really good record of doing things the right way, you know.
Right.
And we'll set them with them, and we'll introduce each other. And I'll tell the new hire, I'm like, look, this guy really knows what he's doing. Okay, Kevin. Kevin really knows what he's doing. And I want you to listen to him. He's going to show you how to stack the material. He's going to tell you about, your PPE and why you should wear it. We have a machine, I give them a code for the machine. They take
Mhm.
some, you get them all, you wear your arm guards and you do everything Kevin says.
Mhm.
Okay. That's how we start out. And, and the beauty of this is like usually the guys that are older don't have any problem with this. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? It's not like, well, that ain't my job.
Yeah.
They don't. This the guy that's going to be their helper, and they want to make sure that he's going to do the job the way that they want him to do it. So they're not real. They accept it. They
That's
accept it,
great.
and they're
Yeah.
good about it.
Yeah.
And we'll start the day, and I'll give them an hour or two, and then I'll come back out. And the first thing I'll do is I'll walk over to Kevin. How's he doing? He's doing good. Okay.
Yeah.
I'll walk back over to the new hire, and I'll say, Kevin says you're doing pretty good, and I'm glad to hear that. But I'm going to stand around. I want to watch you for a couple of minutes,
Yeah.
and I will. I mean,
Yeah.
I'll watch him and see how he's doing. The routine, loading the plate, the expanding the metal, leveling the metal, stacking the metal,
Mhm.
and keeping like rags and stuff. You wipe your hands off. You don't throw the rag on the side of the machine. We have barrels for that. Put that
Yeah.
stuff in there.
Right.
And so we go over the basics with them at the beginning, and as time goes, and we can see that they're catching on, we get a little more advanced with the training.
Right. Right. And I find that whenever I talk to organizations to support this kind of culture that you have, is just fantastic. I mean, so you're using the more seasoned professional subject matter experts to do onboarding and new hire safety training and other types of training, I'm sure, from actual machine operation to, just, here are the safety protocols for it. But it also establishes a relationship for that new hire with somebody that works in the company, a go-to person. As a safety manager, you can't be everywhere all the time. So to seek you out is going to cause a delay in a production or something like that. But if you've paired up two individuals and said, "Hey, this guy Kevin here, he's mentoring you on safety and other things during your new hire period until you're really up to speed," then you have like a go-to for when you're not available, and that's got to be a huge benefit to the organization and to the new hire as well. I got to think it makes them feel part of a community, part of a company, right?
Oh yeah, it doesn't take long either. I mean, honestly, it really doesn't. And it's part also of the new hire is getting it. He gets it then that the idea that we're trying to convey is we want everybody to go home the same way they walked in the door.
Hmm.
And we want that for you too. We want that for you. We hired you. We think you're going to do a good job. We think you're going to be a good employee, and we want you to know that we care about your safety. We care about how you come in, and we care about how you go out the door.
Yeah.
And we have people who know this,
Yeah.
and you're working with them right now.
Yeah, absolutely. So along with all of this comes doing what you need them to do within compliance of your organization, but also making sure that we're adhering to OSHA standards and requirements. And I would imagine that, your particular industry, it has a lot of OSHA compliance along with it. And because just by the nature of what you do as well, how do you stay on top of all of the compliance and the requirements? What is your process for, kind of like walk us through this from training to walkthroughs to meetings with foremen or supervisors? How do you stay in alignment with all of those requirements?
Well, I mean, the first thing is knowing the requirements.
Yeah.
And that's a good start.
Yeah, yeah,
Um,
but,
but
listeners, it's funny because Mark says the first start is knowing the requirements. However, there's a lot of folks out there that run a lot of shops and construction sites that may not know all the requirements that they need to be. So that's a very good first step, probably.
Yeah, yeah, and honestly, the BWC. I told you about the incident that we had with the gentleman who had the degloving incident, right?
Right, right.
Well, as you can imagine, okay, we had OSHA visiting quite a lot. And it took a while because well, of course, after something like that, they come in and they look at everything, and if you didn't know what the requirements were, when they leave what the
Yeah,
requirements are,
yeah,
you know and um to stay ahead of that, I mean, you try you like when they say this has got to be 4 feet high or something, a stair rail has to be there, or the tread has to be this wide, or the distance, guarding by distance is okay in some aspects, but it's not, always. Always we want the guards on the machines. You can't run the guards. So you know what these things are, and you do it. You go by the they have the requirement. Anybody
right,
can get it,
right.
and you can read it and do it.
Yep,
It's the best way to stay into it. And we had a gentleman come to our facility. I don't know if I can know it. You and I know him pretty well, and he has been coming in ever since OSHA left, and he has been a huge help,
yeah,
because you don't know everything and you don't look up everything, because you could spend hours upon hours researching OSHA requirements and the things that you need to do
yep,
to make sure that you are compliant with them.
right.
And he was a great help with that. And
Yeah, I
it was
think that that's a go-to for everybody to take away with is consult with experts.
and absolutely.
People that are in your industry that are safety professionals, or in this particular case, it's probably one of our state provided professionals that comes in and actually does this every day, everywhere. So they can come in and analyze your particular process and give you, okay, here's target areas that you may not have caught or you should really shore up and things like that. And you can have an action plan to get these things done.
And there are things that you don't realize. I mean, extension cords, labeled containers or unlabeled containers, the height of steps, the height of a handrail. I mean, the the one thing that was that I had a misconception about earlier in my career, and maybe it was just the culture of the people who were running the place, is that you don't want these people in here; they'll make trouble. Okay, well,
Yeah.
that's not true at all. They're
Right.
here to help you. I learned that after the whole incident that we had with the gentleman in the degloving, and then the subsequent visits from the BWC the representative, and
Yeah.
and there was I mean, a lot of times they would come in, and he was I would say extremely honest about what he was seeing, you
Yep.
know And
Yeah.
when you hear that, it clicks something on. I mean, and it's like, look, we don't want to go through this again, and we don't
No.
want this to happen to anybody again.
Ever. Right. Yeah.
And so you begin to realize that listening to these people, the professionals,
Right.
is can do nothing but help you.
Right. It's a proactive approach to risk mitigation and avoiding serious injuries. And in this particular case, unfortunately, you had one because someone modified an approach that was already designed to be safe. But a lot of times, you may have a machine line or a job site that has a pretty good track record of no injury, and or no near misses and all those kinds of things reported, but it doesn't hurt to periodically find out who your expert is and have them come in and walk through that line or walk through that process with you, because maybe something subtle changed in the past 6 months or the past year or something like that. And so it's a second set of eyes, right, to help really fine tune that. And I like your point. You know, they're only they're not there to cause trouble. They're there to help you prevent risk or injury to employees. And so, if you proactively engage with this kind of a thought process, then anytime someone from OSHA or your workers' comp group or whatever shows up, it's not because they're looking for things that are going. They're there to help and they're there to validate, and you're going to feel good about them walking through because you will have all of your checks and balances in place.
Right.
Um, yeah, go ahead.
I mean, I'd strongly recommend that to anyone who feels like that they're struggling or they're not quite sure
Yeah,
where they are or what they should be doing. I mean, I would strongly recommend that they contact the BWC and have them come out for an assessment, because they're going to be honest with you, and they're going to give you the resources and the help that you need to get everything straightened up.
yeah,
All you
yeah.
got to do is apply it. You apply what they tell you, and it's going to happen.
Yep. So let's talk a little bit about training and communication. So do you guys operate multiple shifts
Uh,
in
y-
your
yes, we do. Yeah.
yeah, right. But it presents unique challenges, like with multiple shift work in your environment. You have groups of people coming and going, and you've got, in addition to multiple shifts, some shifts, every certain subject matter experts on your team are available. Maybe on other shifts you're not available. How do you manage being a safety? I mean, you don't work 7 days a week, 24 hours a day, but yet you've got these two shifts and you've got different groups of people. How do you manage that process and make sure everything's going the way you would expect it?
Well, first of all, I mean, the management team has all got to be on the same page. I mean, I'm the safety manager, but we have production managers, we have the warehouse manager, and we're together on the same um, mantra, if you will, that everybody has to leave the same way that they came in. So they
Mm.
know this,
Yeah,
and when we train, everybody trains.
I
And
see.
like I
Yep.
said, we have the training matrix, plus the foremen go in have extra training. I mean, we have training for them afterwards. A good example would be drug and alcohol training.
Mm.
Okay, to be able to spot when maybe
Yeah.
somebody is not right, or they think something is going on. Now we can have drug free safety training, but after that we have another hour of how to spot that with the foreman. And they're in lockout tagout. They're with the emergency action plan. Um, they're with the tow motor safety. They believe they know as much as I do,
Hmm.
because we all learn it together. And
Yep.
when they're on the ship by themselves, they know what to look for. And that
Yep.
also, the training also trickles down into the employees. The employees know. I mean,
Yeah.
we have a pretty good training program, and it's part of the culture where they understand and they know what it is that they should and shouldn't be doing. If
Yeah.
there's something happens on afternoon turn, they know right what the first thing they do is get the foreman.
Yep.
And then
Mhm.
the foreman takes charge and he looks at it and sees what he needs to see. If someone has gotten cut or someone's got hurt, um, then they know the steps to take to either bandage it up, or if they have to go to the hospital, they know how to determine that. If someone is feeling faint, they know we have the foremen are all first responders. I'm a
Okay.
first responder. All the maintenance guys are first responders. The
Yeah,
foremen are
great.
first responders. So training is really, again, I can't undersell the
Yep.
value of training.
Yeah.
And training is repetition. And
Right.
repetition is like second, then it becomes like second nature. And when it's
Mhm.
second nature like that, you feel good about that, letting or knowing that the people who are on the other shifts
Mhm.
have the wherewithal and the training to react the way they
Yeah.
need to react.
So talk to us a little about your training program and tell us a little bit like your frequency, or do you segment it to different target groups of employees? Is it in the conference room, online? Is it, what is the makeup of the training program?
We have the OSHA training program that like fire extinguishers, fire prevention, emergency action, lockout, tagout, drug-free safety training, bloodborne pathogens, um, uh, right on down the line, tow motor
Uh-huh.
safety training, and uh, some of that stuff is well, it's all we do it all basically once a year. So once every couple of months, we have training to where we stop the presses and we set up a room. And in fact, I'm in the room right now where we set up the chairs, and I have a laptop that I use, and you can stream from the BWC now, and you can
Hmm.
stream a lot of the uh, uh, subjects that you want to train, like fire
Hmm.
prevention, hearing conservation, um, like I said, fire extinguisher, tow motor safety, and we'll spend that hour or 45 minutes and go over it with everybody.
Hmm.
And we do that for every um, item that's in the OSHA safety training program.
So that covers you with that type of thing. Then do you also do like toolbox talks on some set of frequency?
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. That's part of the walk around too. And
Okay.
anybody has any questions, I have no problems answering any of the questions.
Yeah.
And if they have any concerns, again, that's something that I'm not going to ignore. I want to address their concerns um,
Yeah.
right at that point in time. You know,
Yeah.
not like we'll come get me later. Like I'm like, well, let's go look at it and tell me
Yeah,
what you're
that's pretty
talking about.
important, like timeliness of it, because if they have a concern and you say, let's get to it this afternoon, there's your risk gap, right?
Well,
Between now and this afternoon, anything could
Well,
go
that
wrong.
and you want to show them again. Part of the culture is that you want them to believe that you mean it. So the way that you get that they trust you is you go see what they're talking about,
Yeah.
and deal with it. And if it can be dealt with in a timely manner, it gets dealt with in a timely manner. If
Yeah.
not, we get the engineer out and we'll take a look at it and see if we can make it good until we can get the proper fix in place.
Yeah, that plays right into what the next question I was going to ask. In fact, you even started to answer it a little bit there about encouraging employees to report hazards, suggest improvements, or speak up about safety concerns. And it sounds to me like you definitely, from your walkarounds to people saying proactively bringing up that they have a concern, to you reacting to it right then and there, to be involved with it, and then working with that employee to educate them on what has already been decided or brainstorm on suggested improvements on how to create that safe environment. So, if somebody is reporting a near miss or something like that, do you have a different process or a process that kicks in for near miss investigation and steps that follow that to kind of go back and say, all right, well, how do we keep this near miss from getting registered again? And definitely from becoming an actual injury.
Yes, as a matter of fact, well, like when we have an actual injury, we have an incident report form
Right.
that we fill out, and then we have if they're working with somebody, we have a witness fill it out. If not, we check the cameras and see if we can see what happened, and then we download that, we attach that to the form. We also have a near miss form, and if I'm trying to think of a good like if someone feels like the tow motor got a little close,
Hmm.
that's a problem,
Yeah. Right.
you know. And we go and we fill out the near miss form, but we go and check and see what happened. We talk to
Hmm.
the tow motor driver, we talk to the person who reported it, and we try and determine what the issue was. So he was pushing his toolbox around the corner and the tow motor came by and he almost pushed it into the well, the problem there is the tow motor driver didn't beep his horn coming up to the corner. He knows he's supposed to do that, you know.
Hmm.
So
Yeah.
you tell him, look, I'm going to keep an eye on this. Don't let that happen again,
Yeah.
because then we got to start hanging paper on people, and that's like a last resort. I mean, I want them to know, or I want them to feel like when I'm writing something up, it's a serious thing. It's
Yeah.
not like it's a slap on the wrist.
Yeah.
It's been noted, and it's a problem, and we don't need that problem, you
Right.
know.
Right. Yeah.
So we
Absolutely.
we
Right.
we definitely, or if something like there's like, I'll give you a good example. One is, and this is the nature of what we do, but we expand stainless steel. Now we
Hmm.
wear arm guards. Okay,
Hmm.
we have arm guards. We have heavy leather gloves. We wear long sleeve shirts, and we try and make it as safe as possible for them to handle the material. But as the material comes off of the machine, it's flexible, it's springy, so you have to handle it in a certain fashion. So you get it into the leveler, it moves up and down a lot. So it was just this past week the operator pushed it in the leveler, and it sprung back up, and it went right between the
Nice.
Velcro of his arm guard,
Oh,
and it
wow.
it peeled the arm guard right off. Never seen anything like it. I mean, usually it'll go in and the arm guard does its job. This
Yeah.
time it went between the fastening
Yeah.
element of the arm guard and peeled the arm guard right off.
Wow.
That's a
Yeah.
problem, you
That
know.
is. So.
And so now we're looking at another way. Maybe we find arm guards with snaps, or we try and figure out another way. Maybe two men putting this piece of stainless, like the helper comes around and tries to hold it down. But there are things that happen that are in reality accidents.
Exactly. I mean, sometimes it's just a matter of like, you go to toss something on a chair or something like that, and it lands in a very precarious place, and you think to yourself, "Oh, if I tried to do that, I couldn't do it."
Right,
and it,
right,
and it's
right,
some, but yet
exactly,
it's possible that it could happen, even though you have all the safeguards in place.
right,
Now,
and
here's a question for you, because oftentimes in manufacturing and fabricating environments, there's quotas, there's deadlines, there's production throughput that needs to happen. And there's obviously safety standards that need to be adhered to. But an employee might be feeling the pressure of, boy, I fell a little bit behind. I've got to hit this, I got to be at this point in my process by the end of the day today. What message do you send out to your workers so that they're sure not to compromise any safety standards for the sake of hitting a target production?
it's safety first. And if they're not achieving their target production, let's find out why. I mean, do you not feel good? Is there an issue? Is there something wrong with the machine? Is there something that you don't feel good about when you're operating the machine, that is causing you to hesitate? Or is it just that you're not feeling it today? Tell me what it is, and we can work on it. And I can say this, that um, if it's an issue with safety, if it's an issue like a guard come off, or
Hmm.
or there's a leak, or there's something that isn't right about what's happening, there's a noise and you're not sure what, the management, our company, uh, even the salespeople are freaking nuts, man. They want their stuff now, and
Yeah, right.
they out the
Oh,
door.
but
The
that's their job, is to look out
Yes,
for their customer all the time. So they're doing it, right?
it
Yeah.
is their job, and we
Yeah.
understand it. But even then, we the our director of operations will say, "Shut it off."
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
if there's an issue, shut it
Correct the
off.
situation.
We
Yeah.
can always call somebody and tell them, look, it's going to be a day late. You
Yeah.
know, we
Yeah.
can't always say, look, we can't put, Kevin's finger back on,
Yeah.
you know.
Right. Right.
So,
Yeah. These are,
and, but we try and investigate. We try and find out why maybe the production numbers aren't being met. And I don't want to, like say that isn't a thing, because it is a thing.
right.
We want them numbers, but we want them to be able to do it safely, and we
Right.
want them to be able to do it with confidence.
Yeah.
That they're achieving the goals are not going to put them in any jeopardy.
Yeah, absolutely. So this has been a great conversation about your current position, where you work at Niles Expanded, and the processes and the cultures. Is just a really fantastic recap. I want to thank you for that. As we move to the end of our podcast and our time together here today, I'd like, what advice would you give a younger safety professional, maybe somebody who's just entered, they're in that first year as a safety manager? What advice would you give them as they're moving from that first year safety manager, safety coordinator position into their career as a safety professional?
Be flexible. You don't know everything. I mean, you might have a good idea. You have a plan, and include your employees in there. I mean,
Mm.
don't talk to them, or don't treat anybody like they're just a part of the process. I always feel like you treat people like people, and people will treat you the same way. And
Yeah,
even though that there's a job to be done, and you're in a position of authority, you don't have to throw that authority around. You can relate to people a man to man basis, or a man to woman. We have
mm,
females that work here
yeah,
too,
right.
and they're very good workers. In fact,
Yeah,
one of the girls is probably the best tow motor driver that we
yeah,
have in the place.
yeah.
Okay,
That's right.
so you treat everybody like people, everybody like human beings, and be sincere about their health. Be
Hmm.
sincere about their safety. I mean, you're doing it, you're getting a paycheck and everything, but there's more to it than that. And you know what? You learn that stuff. Hope you never see anything like somebody
Right.
really get hurt.
Yeah,
I mean,
right, right,
you don't want that at all.
right.
So treat
Yeah,
people like you care about their health and their well being, and that
yeah,
you want them to leave the facility the same way they came in and
yeah.
day out.
That's so true. I mean, it's a permeate thing. Treat people nicely, respect their opinion and their insights, combine their level of expertise with yours to make the situation exactly what it needs to be. And
Listen to
that
them.
and listen to them. And people feel a sense of empowerment when you listen and absorb what they have to say. Now, they might not always give the suggestion that you're allowed to implement, or the one that they might give a suggestion that's too expensive, but the team is accountable to work together to find the solution to keep the production where it's supposed to be, keep you safe on the job within the parameters that they have to work with. And so I really like that as that's excellent parting advice for a new safety professional, is just really um, treat other people with respect, and be sincere about hearing their ideas, and think good things will happen.
I agree.
Well,
Yes.
yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
No, yeah, for sure. That
Uh,
I every day and you know what? You don't know everything. Every day you learn something else.
This is true. No matter how old we get, we don't know everything. That is
That's
for
a
sure.
fact.
Yeah. So, Mark, I want to thank you so much for participating in today's podcast. It was a great conversation. I love that we were able to cover so much ground, from the beginning of your career to advice for others as they're starting their career. So, listeners, if you found today helpful and you really enjoyed our podcast, we'd love it if you'd subscribe, and share our episode, or any of our episodes, with anyone in your network that you think can benefit from a candid conversation with another safety professional. Mark, thank you so much for participating in Compliance in Motion.
Thank you, Tony. I enjoyed it very much. Thank you very much.